Nowadays, we're very familiar with the GPS systems that get us where we want to go. But what is the GPS for life? How do we get where we want to go in life? And there are two fascinating Rashis right at the beginning of parshat Braishit that in many ways illuminate what the GPS for life should be. The first Rashi explains that you have to find your destination. One of the most important aspects of a GPS is that first you punch in your destination. The same thing is true of life. Rashi explains that the word Braishit, which literally means in the beginning, should not be read in a literal way, but rather it should be read with the midrashic comment, Bishvil Reishit, that it's because of the most important thing that Bara Elokim, God created. So rather than reading it as in the beginning God created, it should be read as because of the most important thing God created. And Rashi explains, of course, the Reishit, the most important thing in the world when God created it, was the Torah. That the world was created for this spiritual goal. Now, by the way, this is a lesson not just about our goals, that our goals should be spiritual ones like the Torah. It is a lesson really about life. The truth is, we all need to have a destination. The GPS for life requires us to first type in, where are we going? Stephen Covey, the professor of management and famous author, in his 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, explains that one of the most important things in life is to begin with the end in mind. You have to start out knowing where you want to go. And he explains that for every human being, for every individual, the end has to be what you want written on your tombstone. Where do you want to get eventually? Where do you want to be at the very end? And that's the destination that you have to type into your GPS. And it is so important in the GPS of life to know exactly what your destination is. But there's another rule about the GPS in life that Rashi explains to us. Rashi makes a remarkable comment that when God created the world, initially he created it b'midat hadin, with the element of justice and judgment. God's attribute of justice demanded the world to be perfect. And then Rashi says, God saw the world couldn't continue. And therefore he included with it rachamim, mercy. Now, although this Rashi is very difficult to interpret, it does teach us a very powerful lesson about the GPS of life. Just like in a GPS, when you make a wrong turn, you just have to recalculate. In life, you need to have a destination, and when you make those wrong turns, you need to be recalculating. And it's not just when you make wrong turns. Sometimes the GPS will mark out a particular route, and you'll come to a highway and you'll find out that the highway is closed. And so it is in life. And indeed, for Orthodox Jews in the 21st century, one of the critical elements is figuring out, how do we recalculate? The Jewish world is not an Orthodox world, and the general world at large, and certainly the Western world, is not an Orthodox-friendly world. The values that we live among are not our values. And Jews have had to grapple with this for many generations. I'm thinking of a comment made by the Ramah and an argument on that comment made by the Taz in Yoredei Shin Lamed Daled. As you know, these are halachic works, the Shulchan Aruch. The Ramah is a very important halachic commentary, and there he talks about what the rules of excommunication are. And he says that, do we excommunicate a person who is going to go and leave the Jewish community as a result of the excommunication? In those days, there were certain standards that had to be held. And if someone went astray, you had to excommunicate them. And the Ramah's question is, do we excommunicate someone who, after going astray and after being excommunicated, will say, I'm leaving the community, I'm going to become a Christian? And the Ramah says, standards are standards, you don't change. The Taz takes enormous exception to this particular view. And the Taz says, absolutely not. You need to change your tone if you think you're going to lose the person that you're excommunicating. And essentially what the Taz is telling us is that when the highway isn't passable, you need to recalculate. Recalculating. The Taz is really a lesson for all of us. There are particular routes that we map out on the road of life. We do this as individuals, we do this as the community. But when we take those routes, sometimes we can't get to the destination on the highway we want to. And so we need to take a different turn. We need to recalculate. We should never forget our destination. We must always be searching for our destination. But in the GPS of life, we also need to recalculate as well. And that is the GPS of life.